Hi everyone, welcome to this quick video on using Zoom and Zoom best practices. I am currently alone in a Zoom room that I am the host of, and I'm going to walk you through some basics. Then as people join the room, I will show you some more useful features like switching into gallery view, how to share a screen, how to give hosting permissions to someone else, how to rename yourself, all that good stuff. So the very first thing you're going to want to do when you get into Zoom is to make sure that you have Zoom settings the way you want them. The only way to edit your Zoom settings is to have a Zoom account. Please don't worry, you don't need to pay for a Zoom account. If you're not hosting, whether your account is free or paid for, it doesn't actually matter. You're going to get all of the features that the host has. If you are not logged into Zoom with a Zoom account, please make sure you log out, register for an account, log back in to join your meeting. For all New York City public school teachers, you will be having a Zoom account that's connected to your NYC school's email address, so the one that is schools.nyc.gov at the end. And that should come with premium features such as being able to host meetings for longer than 40 minutes for groups of more than 4 people. So the very first thing that we are going to go over is just the basics that you see when you log into Zoom. When you log into Zoom, you should see this bar, most likely at the bottom of your page, that has options to mute yourself. And a best practice is to always be muted if you are not the one speaking, to make sure that background noise does not get picked up on. You'll have the option to start or stop your video. For most meetings, facilitators are going to ask that you have a video displayed because it helps the facilitator to know that you are present in the meeting and you haven't stepped away from your computer. It's also just helpful in building community and making it not weird. It's so weird to talk to people when there's just blank screens in front of you. So please make sure to keep your video on. The exception to this rule might be if you're in an extremely large meeting, having everybody's video on can be a really big bandwidth suck and it can slow things down, and in that case people might ask you to stop your video. Things that you will only see if you are a host are security, polling, the option to record or not record. This meeting is not being recorded, but I could record it if I wanted to. Breakout rooms. Those are the reactions that only a host will see. So if you log in and don't see those, please don't panic. Even if you are a co-host, not all of these will be available to you. Breakout rooms is something that is only available to the person hosting the meeting. Meeting hosts can change, as you will see shortly. The big purpose of hosts is having these breakout room features, but if you need to pass it to a co-teacher, it's not going to break the meeting, it's not going to ruin anything. The two pieces that you are going to care about most as both a teacher and as a participant are these participants and chat buttons. If you click this chat button, it's going to open up a chat window where you can send messages, like the hello that I just sent out. These messages are only seen by people who are currently in your Zoom meeting. So because there's no one in my Zoom meeting, no one got that message, and when people log in at some point in the future, they're not going to see that message. This means that when you are sending things in Zoom, it's really important that you either wait until your participants are present, or you are consistently resending things to make sure that as people are coming in, they're able to get the notices. That's also a great time to have your screen shared with maybe a slide up of instructions as people are coming in, so that it's very easy to get and gather all that information in one place. A best practice for sharing directions through chat is to have notes or notepad or some kind of text editor open where you can type notes ahead of time and then you can just copy and paste them into the chat as you're ready for them. The participant window is also super useful, though it's going to look very boring right now. This usually lists out all of the participants in the Zoom meeting in a semi-random order. It's a little bit based on how active they are in the meeting, as well as I think it starts alphabetically and then it kind of shifts throughout the meeting. But the reason why this is useful is not only can you see who is there, but you can access some features like being able to turn people into hosts or co-hosts. You can mute yourself from here. If you right click, you'll have some options around pinning video, which means that their video will be at the front for you all the time. And most importantly, you can rename yourself. So from your Zoom preferences in a browser window, you can change your name, I want to say permanently, but you can change it at any point in time. You can change your name so that it displays a certain name every time you log in. But you can also, meeting by meeting, change your name. So if I were in a setting where maybe we were just first names, they didn't need last names, I could rename myself by clicking more and clicking rename. A best practice for all meetings is to have your first and last name as well as your preferred pronouns as a part of your meeting name. This is especially important for educators who may have students who are looking to feel more included in their gender identity, and just letting them know that other people also include their preferred pronouns can help them make that very brave step of telling you what their preferred pronouns are. So it's something to normalize, it's something to ask people to do as soon as they enter your meetings. The other great thing about the participant window, which is wonderful when you are facilitating a meeting or teaching a class, is it has all of these response buttons that will be seen by you and also by all of the participants in the meeting. So if I wanted to ask you to do something like open a certain web page, if I couldn't proceed until everyone or most of everyone had that web page open, I might give you an instruction like open a certain web page and then throw up the green check mark in the participant window so I know you're ready to move on. Then I have a very clear visual that that person is ready, and I can do some of that positive behavior naming that we're used to doing in class, where I can say things like, oh, Courtney, great job, I see your green check, I'm still waiting on 3 more green checks, please put up your green check when you're done. So that is like a great option for getting some engagement. You don't see it on the host side, but participants will also have a blue participant hand that they can raise. And when they raise their hand, it will actually bubble their names up to the top of the participant window. This is super, super useful when you're trying to get answers from students because it's hard to manage like a large group if they're raising their hands on screen. It's really easy to miss people. Asking and naming very clearly, please raise your blue hand in the participant window, is a great way to get engagement and look for volunteers. There's also a lot of things you can do in the chat to help get engagement. The chat is a great place for people to be dropping questions all the time. They can also send them directly to you as opposed to the whole group. And you can use different engagement strategies in chat. So if you wanted to do something like stop, jot, write, and then share, you could ask students to write in their participant window for 60 seconds. And then they could not hit send right away, just write and have it there. And then as soon as they are ready, or as soon as you are ready, you can give them a countdown and have everyone send at once. You could also have them do something more like a chat storm, where you just ask them to like flood the chat with ideas, and that's more of like a brainstorming strategy if you just want to elicit a lot of responses at once. From either of those, you can then go back, mine the data, name what you're seeing, and use that to gauge volunteers who already have some type of an answer, rather than doing cold calling, which can be really scary in an in-person situation and even more scary in an online situation. Really shortly, you're going to see someone join in on this meeting. I'll show you what the waiting room looks like and how you can message the waiting room, and then we will jump into what it looks like as a participant. Oh, and it's happening right now. So you can see right now that Jose is joining the meeting. I have the option to remove or admit him. And what I would recommend is that you always have a roster so you know which students are entering. If Jose did not have a name that was on my roster, from the chat, instead of messaging everyone in the meeting, I could choose to message everyone in the waiting room, and I could say something like, sorry, your name isn't on my roster. Please rename and try again. For now, I'm just going to tell him that I'm admitting him in 1 second, and this is a message that will send to Jose that he will be able to immediately see. Once I hit admit, Jose is going to be able to join this meeting, and you'll see that as soon as Jose joins the meeting, it might take his audio and his camera a minute to come on, but he is going to join in this thing that we call speaker view. So in speaker view, you see one person highlighted at the bottom, and you see normally a carousel of all the videos at the top. If you don't want to see just one person highlighted at the bottom, you can swap into gallery view by clicking this button in the top right corner. Gallery view will take you down so you see all the videos one on top of another. If you want to switch back to speaker view, you can do that by clicking this button here. From gallery view, as more people will enter the meeting, which right now it's just going to be a 2-person meeting, you would see a screen, like a gridded screen of all of the people. If it becomes more than a certain number, which I apologize, I don't know off the top of my head, you would get arrows that would help you to navigate. From here, the only other useful things that you would need to know about is if you do need to share a screen, you can click this share screen button. That will allow you to pick what you want to share. You'll see you have a lot of useful options here. You can either share your entire desktop, or you can share individual windows or parts of your desktop. This is great if you don't want to be getting notifications showing up as you're sharing. You guys might have seen a few texts from my friends pop up in the corner, which we're just going to ignore because it was all about watching movies tonight. You also have this option of screen sharing a whiteboard, which can be really, really useful. This whiteboard will allow people to write on what is happening on the screen. People can share together by changing their sharing options to annotate, which can be a great way to get collaboration. You can save this for later. Like you really just have so many options. The other nice thing that you can do when you are screen sharing, you guys would see this, I would not because I'm the one sharing. Where I see stop screen, you guys will have screen sharing choices, one of which is side-by-side view. Enabling side-by-side view will let you see the facilitators and the participants next to the screen. So if you are doing something a little bit more personal where you want FaceTime, that can be a great time to get FaceTime while still seeing something that's being displayed. I'm going to finish sharing and show you one last thing. If you are facilitating a meeting and you would like someone to take over hosting for you so that they could do something like run breakout rooms, you can do that by clicking their name. When I hover over Jose's name in the participant window, you'll see I have the option to ask him to unmute. There are also options to ask him to start his video. I, as the host, can manually rename him, which I do not advise doing. Please get people in the habit of renaming themselves. Although I might want to send a private chat to Jose, which again, dropping down in this menu, instead of sending to everyone, I could send Jose, where I could ask him to rename himself with his preferred pronouns, if that is a norm I am setting for this meeting. The ask to start video and the ask to unmute are like private nudges that get sent automatically, and those can also be great ways to let people know you're watching. But I also have the option of making Jose a co-host, which will give him some limited power, or I can make him the host. When Jose is the co-host, you see that I retain all of my hosting capabilities. If I were to make Jose the host, you're going to see that all of my capabilities have dropped down to just what you see as a participant. You'll also see from here that I now have the raise hand feature, which I can use to raise my blue participant hand in the window. And again, that's just a really useful way to elicit engagement from students. This is a really, really quick Zoom overview. There's a ton more stuff that exists in Zoom, including a whole lot of features and preferences. You can access most of those through this video settings button, which I access by clicking the up arrow next to stop video and clicking video settings. From video settings, you'll see that you have a bunch of options around your video. Touch-up appearance is a really nice one for those of us who have been in quarantine for a long time. You guys can explore these on your own, but I think the most useful that everyone should know about is under share screen. These top two options, one that says enter full screen when a participant shares screen, and one that says maximize Zoom window when a participant shares screen, are both things that you should uncheck and that you should instruct your Zoom participants to uncheck at the beginning of learning. These are things that will make Zoom into a full screen mode anytime you start screen sharing, and it can be really obnoxious if you're in a setting where you're asking students to code along or follow along with you. The rest of all of the settings are things that you can play with on your own. And just keep in mind there are even more settings in the Zoom browser side that have to do with your specific account. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or someone on the CS4All team. We're happy to do the best we can to get you settled with Zoom. And also remember that Google and YouTube are your friends. There's a whole lot of resources out there about other features of Zoom. Thank you so much.